Welcome back. All right, I want to talk about Arizona. Why? Because Arizona might be the worst team I've seen. End of sentence. At all of it. And what we've seen so far early in the season really hasn't changed my mind on that. So they're 0-5-1, right? Which is not a surprise. We all knew Arizona was going to be really bad in a pretty strong Central Division. They had no chance. They were 24, 26, and 6 last year, and they decided we're going to tear it down. So Garland's gone. OEL is gone. Kemper's gone. Goligoski, gone. Ronta, also gone. Bunting goes to Toronto. Jalmerson, retired. Hill, gone. Osterley, gone. Pitlick, yep. Brassard, also, yes. So they got rid of all three of their goaltenders. And so this is all about getting all of the draft picks in 2022, which is supposed to be a very deep draft class. So this means that things will get better for Arizona. But I feel bad for the guys who have to put on these jerseys and go out there and play every night. They're not tanking. Players don't tank. Players go out there and they try the hardest they can every night. And it has to be difficult when your team's off to an 0-5-1 start. And you look at these games, they lost at Columbus 8-2. That wasn't close. They lose in a shootout at Buffalo 2-1. That was their opportunity for a win. Then they come home. They lose 7-4 against St. Louis, 5-1 against Edmonton, and 3-0 against the New York Islanders before going out and starting a 6-game road trip with a 5-3 loss against Florida. A game against Florida where they had one shot after the first period. Now, they did come back in that game, and they showed against St. Louis there is that opportunity for them maybe to come back, right? It's there. It's not likely, but it's there. But then you look at their next 5 games. I don't know if it gets better. They're in against Tampa. Tampa's off to a slow start. They're not going to take it easy on them. Washington. Ovechkin loves getting himself some goals. He could score 4 or 5 against Arizona. Carolina. Carolina is a machine right now, too. Philadelphia. Philadelphia can score. Philadelphia absolutely has that. Right now, Atkinson with 4 goals in 4 games. Then they go to Anaheim. Anaheim's a lot of fun to watch right now. We'll see whether or not Anaheim beats them. That might be the one of the 5 that I could see Arizona pulling off an upset. But we're already getting into that range then, right? So if they have, say, 1 win in 11 games, and if that's their average, they're going to get close. The 74-75 Capitals. 8-67-5 was their record. 21 points. Through 6 games, Arizona has 1 point. So it is going to be one of those things where we may take a look at this at the end of the year and go, wow, that was the worst season any team ever had. And so their leading scorer that year, the Washington Capitals, was Tommy Williams. 73 games, 22 goals, 36 assists, 58 points. And this was a Washington team that comes in an expansion year where the NHL gave them very little to nothing to work with. They had so little to work with that the NHL even felt a little bit embarrassed after that took place. The power play for that team was 12.9%. The penalty kill, 71.34%. It's bad, right? Ron Lowe was their starting goaltender, had all 8 wins to go with 36 losses and 2 ties, 855 save percentage, 5.45 goals against. So if he allowed 4 goals, that was a pretty good night. If they allowed 5, that's not bad. Our average is higher than that. They scored 181 goals. They allowed 443. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Coyotes will not allow 443 goals because nobody allows over 400 goals in the NHL anymore. But after 6 games, the Capitals were 1-4-1. Now, part of what made that season bad was all the losing streaks. They did have a 17-game losing streak in there. Well, the Coyotes are up to 6. Now, the difference, too, is that we have the 3-point games now. When the Caps came in, they didn't. If you have a 3-point game back then, they may have had more points. They may have reached double-digit wins. It's possible, right? So for the Capitals, it was an all-time worst season, and they took a long time to become good again. And it's the question I have with Arizona is they've got all these draft picks. They picked up that number 9 pick from Vancouver that becomes Dylan Guenther. They like him. But how long does it take? So right now their leading scorer is Clayton Keller, 3 goals and 1 assist. He might be the only player left who is a key guy for a while, right? Kessel has a goal and 3 assists. He's an unrestricted free agent this coming summer. I'd be very surprised if he's not moved. But keep an eye on how the Arizona Coyotes do this at the deadline, because they have to stay above the cap floor, right? And for teams that are acquiring players, they may have a bad contract. Arizona may be able to help them out there for another draft pick, right? Gostas Bear has 4 assists so far for Arizona. Johan Larsson, 3 assists. He's a UFA next summer. Andrew Ladd, a goal and an assist. Strawman, a goal and an assist. He's UFA next summer. Fisher, 1 goal, 1 assist. He's an RFA next summer. Same thing for Lawson Krause. 1 goal, 1 assist, and an RFA. Dzingel, 2 assists. He's UFA next summer. And Lyubushkin, 2 assists, UFA next summer. Their goaltenders, Vejmelka is an RFA next summer. He's 0-3-1 with an .899 save percentage, 3.15 goals against. Carter Hutton, who's out for the next 2 to 4 weeks. Unrestricted free agent next summer. He's 0-2 with a .741 save percentage and a 7.76 goals against. Even Ron Lowe would look at those numbers and go, wow, that's bad. That's bad. So the question I have is, while this is on purpose, this is by design, how do they dig their way out? Because tearing it down is the easy part, and I've talked about that before. Any team can tear themselves apart and end up at the bottom of the standings. It's how you find that way to build yourself back up. So all these guys are free agents this summer, which means there's going to be a lot of money. And how do you attract new players? You offer them success, you offer them more money. Those are the 2 ways to do it. You offer them more money or you offer them more success, right? So the goals per game for this team right now, 1.83. That means they would score less than the 181 scored by the Washington Capitals that year. Their goals against, 4.83 goals against per game. So their goals for is 31st. Their goals against is 32nd. It's still, though, not going to get close to 443 goals against. Their power play, 12.5%. That's 28th in the NHL. And 0.4% below what the Washington Capitals had that expansion year. Their penalty kill, wow, 35.7%. It's clearly 32nd in the league. I would imagine the game against Edmonton didn't help. 35.7%. The penalty kill for the Capitals in their expansion year was 71.34%. 84% is the combination of those 2 numbers. Anything below 90 is bad. Right now, the combination of the power play and the penalty kill for Arizona is 48. It's abysmal. It can't stay that low, right? Something has to change, right? Somebody has to come through. There has to be like a game where they kill 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6, right? So they have other UFAs this coming summer. I don't know if any of these guys end up being rentals. Erickson, not likely. Beagle, also not likely unless they retain, say, half of his salary. And even then, yeah. O'Brien, maybe. Boyd, sure. Roussel, possible. Somebody may look at Roussel's physicality and say, yeah, we want him in the lineup. Galchenyuk, maybe. Galchenyuk, of course, not on the board here. He's been out with injury. I don't know if he helps the pop gun offense when he gets in there. I don't know if that adds up to some wins. I just don't know where the wins come from. The impressive, if you want to call it that, the impressive thing is a lot of their numbers are worse than the 74-75 Capitals right now. And I'm trying to figure out how these get better. Like, even in games where they're close, like the Islanders, didn't get a goal. Edmonton, at points, they played Edmonton pretty well. They still lost 5-1. St. Louis, impressive at points. They lose 7-4. And against Florida, they came back, but they lost 5-3. So, I don't know how you get to 10 wins. Because you'd have to think that double-digit wins are at least what you should be aiming for. And then you have the other issue, too. So they're going to put the new building in Tempe. That's the plan, right? It's not 100% confirmed yet, but the plan is You put a building in Tempe and you put the team in there. Now, they've torn the team apart. You've got a team that might be off to the worst start we've seen, period. Might end up threatening the 74-75 Capitals records, right? Maybe surpassing them for futility. And so you're selling fans on that, or are you selling the developers on that? It's just one of those things, you know, where it's like, okay, so you're going to get a team. We're thinking 3 years from now we might be competitive. Playoffs, hold your roll there. We think we can win maybe 25, 30 games by the time we move into the new building. Because I don't know that next year, because this is where the other part of it comes in. You have to get into the big picture. I want to see the Coyotes succeed. I think hockey can work in the desert. This is not going to encourage attendance, right? And next season, even if they have all of these draft picks, it's going to take a while for all of that to gel, right? And then you still need veterans to shepherd along the kids. If you have a young core that doesn't have those veterans there that can lead them along the way, you've got a team of kids that's going to have a hard time winning games. So, you know, and if you look at the dynasties of yore, whether it's Chicago, whether it's Pittsburgh, whether it's Detroit, however far back you want to go, there have always been those veterans in those lineups who have been able to help out the younger star players, right? And sometimes when, you know, a team like Pittsburgh holds up a Stanley Cup, one of the first guys to get a Stanley Cup will be a veteran they brought in who may not have scored a bunch of goals, but he's seen as like that glue guy. So that's the thing I'm wondering for Arizona is when they get those kids in the lineup, are they going to be able to attract those guys? And, I mean, do they hit the cap floor next year? Do we see the same thing next year where they just have a group they sign to get to the floor? Do they bring in more bad contracts? Do they get 2023 draft picks too? How far does this go? Because that's the interesting thing to me is that both Buffalo and Arizona, I mean, obviously Buffalo's off to a good start, and Buffalo has some of the pieces they're going to need for the future. Dylan Cousins, I think, is going to be a really good forward, and there's a lot of decent options there. I don't see that same thing with Arizona. I really don't. I don't see that same upside with Arizona. If Buffalo works the Jack Eichel trade right, they could get substantial returns on Eichel and potentially other parts of that team too. And I think that for Arizona, they've already done that with the players they're willing to move who are worth a lot. You could get a lot for moving Clayton Keller. I don't think they moved Clayton Keller. So I don't know where this goes from here, right? 0-5-1. How much worse can it get? It is a tough watch. I'm going to be honest, watching their games is tough early in the season because you just get that voice in your head going, well, they're not going to do anything. This isn't going to work. So, you know, if there's 5 or 6 different games on at the same time, this is the one I have the least amount of apprehension about and the least amount of hey, what might happen here going on in my brain. Like I know, I'm like, yeah, they're not going to win. And even when they score and they get close, I'm like, well, that's nice. They're not going to win. So we'll see if that turns around, right? Maybe the whole video curse thing goes the other way too. Maybe Arizona goes on a run. Maybe they beat Tampa, they beat Washington, they beat Carolina, and 2 weeks from now we're talking about, hey, Arizona, right? Louis Eriksson with 7 goals in 4 games. Who knew? I will say this. Of the Canucks that went over there, I think Eriksson's probably been the best of the 3 between Eriksson, Beagle, and Roussel. Hasn't shown up on the score sheet, but the effort's there. And it's been interesting, right? Interesting to see how all this has worked out so far and what's going to happen from here. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always, regarding the start of the Arizona Coyotes. How many wins do they get? Let me know in the comment section below how many wins you think they get. Do they go on some kind of a run and get to 15? Do they get to 20? Do they surprise us all and hit 25? Or do they get 4? Let me know how many you think they're going to win. I do think they're going to threaten that record at least for a while. They should have some kind of a small winning streak somewhere along the way, because that usually happens for everybody, but I don't know when that happens. Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.